Welcome to the Somewhat Frank podcast, hosted by me, Frank Gruber, and joined by my friends and colleagues, Jen Consalvo and John Guidos. This podcast explores the latest trends and advancements in technology and business, including emerging startups and how they shape today while looking forward towards the future. We also enjoy testing new gadgets and products and sharing our findings too, along with our favorite pop culture picks like music, books, and what we're streaming. This podcast is produced in collaboration with our company, Established. Ready to dive in? Time to be somewhat frank. Welcome back to the Somewhat Frank podcast. I'm Frank Gruber, and today I'm joined by my colleagues Johnny Good Times Guidos, Jen Consalvo, and Simon Kahan. Welcome back, y'all.
Hello, glad to be here.
All right. Jen, you're back. You took a little hiatus there last week. We were talking to Jesse Middleton, and you missed it. Sorry about that. But
I know, very sad. But it was a great conversation, and any one of you who did not hear it should go back and listen to it because you'll learn a lot about AI and about what's going on in that industry and with startups. It's really, really good discussion.
Absolutely. I guess we'll just dive right in. Jen, let's get your latest update, and then we'll go around the horn here.
Let's see. So two things. This week I gave a really fun talk to a whole bunch of students and folks in STEM, specifically about funding. So I was talking about innovation and funding your journey, and gave all kinds of examples of great companies out there who have raised in all different ways, like not just angel or VC money, but non-dilutive capital, funding through America Seed Fund, grants, all kinds of things. It was really fun conversation. And I also went to a new dessert bar in town and had the most interesting dessert. The kinds of desserts where they're like try to mix in a lot of savory flavors with your sweet. It was like that. It was the kind that you're like, oh, this is so good. And afterwards you're like, I'm not sure I get that again. Like maybe I just want a regular banana split, but it was really fun.
Nice. That was Rococo's dessert bar. Is that correct?
Yes, Rococo. And it's beautiful. And they have lovely things, including like they come to your table. My sister ordered a drink where they make the smoke bubble. So it's like this big bubble over your drink, and then it slowly like dissolves and it poofs into this little fog over your table.
We'll have to share that here. Do you have a video of that? We can drop that here.
I do. I have a video we can share.
Okay, great. And that's pretty cool. I want a dessert bubble. All right, Johnny, what are you up to?
Well, first of all, Jen, where was your talk at? I'm just curious.
It was online. So,
okay.
And it was through BioSense Workforce Development, Professional Development Series. I was brought in through someone at the University of New Hampshire, and I think it's actually, the whole thing is funded by National Science Foundation. I think I'll be putting my slides online soon, so we can, make them available.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out the best place to put those slides so that everyone can see and learn. So we're trying to figure that out internally. What's the best method? We haven't, there's SlideShare and all these different places to put things, but what's the best place? So working through that. We'll have a conclusion here soon. Dun, dun, dun.
Well, I'm excited to see all that, Jen. But as updates for me, I'm getting excited to go to Door County this weekend. Never been up there in Upper Wisconsin. Specifically Fish Creek. We're staying at a place called the White Gull Inn, which Good Morning America voted them to have the best dessert in America a couple of years ago.
Ooh.
I guess that they're known for their stuffed cherry French toast, which sounds delicious. They have a fish boil, which I know, Jen, your dad would probably get excited about. So pumped up about that. And a quick update. I know for all of our loyal listeners, that's a tongue twister, but I have not caught the chicken serial killer yet. So no, nothing good to do. I still have 3 traps out there looking to get the whatever got our chicken, but no updates there yet. I'll keep everybody in the know. It's just as soon as we get something.
All right. Next up, Simon, what are you up to?
So I've been watching the Euro soccer tournament, and it's all the nations in Europe playing soccer together, and it happens every 4 years. So obviously it's been 4 years, and it's, besides the World Cup, it's my favorite thing ever. My favorite part about it is that it's sort of barely about the soccer. Like there's like 100-year feuds between these countries that are playing. And then there's like these huge fights because it's all about like what happened in like the 1400s and stuff. It's great. So I'm giving it a watch. I'm voting for Slovenia. That's my team. I just I like a lot of letter. I don't know, there's a V in there. I like the letter V. And so yeah, we'll see how they do. But I've been enjoying it.
I think my relatives are actually from Slovenia, so I'm a fan as
Oh.
well. But I'm gonna start watching, Simon. I know that you've been watching, and to me, I was just telling somebody the other day that this is like the slowest sports time of the year for me. I know, Frank,
Mhm.
you're a big baseball fan, and it's kind of like the beginning of the season, which is a little bit slower, and then hockey just finished up, and basketball and football. So this is like a slow time for me. So I need something to kind of fill the dead air. So I'm gonna start watching it as well. We can chat about it later.
Yeah, give it a watch. It's so funny because like some countries that do not have the greatest relations, and it's like they're like barely playing soccer. It's mostly just fighting. It's great.
Wow, I didn't even realize that. That's crazy. Is there a specific I guess send us some links of like when we're supposed to watch these things because I actually don't know. And I've been more into like to Major League Baseball mostly my entire life, so that's been my kind of go-to for summer with the Cubbies and all that. But is there a specific match we should be watching this weekend or something?
So we are in the round of 16 starting on Saturday. So
Mhm.
there's, I believe, Italy, Georgia, there's going to be Spain, Belgium, or something like that. You can't go wrong. All these teams are great.
Awesome. All right, we'll check that out. I just got back.
Frank,
Yeah, yeah.
sorry, you mentioned baseball, but have you been following Paul Skeens at all with the Pirates?
Yes, he is.
I'm a big fan for various reasons, but I think that hey, do you see him? I mean, statistically, he's really coming out of the gate pretty fast. And did you see him strike that guy out at 102 miles an hour the other day?
I did. He's actually thrown more over 100 mile per hour pitches this year than anyone else. So he throws really hard. He's really, really, he was like the number one pick, right, for Pittsburgh. So
Stud,
he's
yeah.
pretty solid. Yeah. Interesting. I saw a couple interviews of him too. He's pretty funny to listen to. But yeah, so watching baseball. I actually got back to Chicagoland, went to see some family, and also got to go to Wrigley Field on what I think might be the hottest day I've ever been to Wrigley Field. It was like 101 or something like that, like with the heat index and all that. So, and we sat in the sun. So we braved like 7 or 8 innings, and then we kind of had to like run for cover. It was cooking us. Because you thought you're like, oh, the sun's gonna move, the sun's gonna move. It never actually moved fast enough, so we were just out there baking. But it felt good to be out there. It's beautiful to be back. But I have to say, I kept my running challenge going through that. I don't know if you remember for our loyal listeners, like you mentioned. I've been doing this 30-day running challenge. I had to end it at day 24, and it wasn't because I couldn't do it running wise. I wanted to do it, but my appendix started to get inflamed, and I had an early appendicitis. So all of a sudden I had to like stop running because I didn't want my appendix to explode. That could be lethal. So at the end of the day, I'll have to pick that up soon, but I may be losing an appendix this weekend, honestly, or soon. We'll see. But on a good note, that's the negative. The high note is, I did get a chance to get finally this weekend. Jen and I put together the omelet. We got the omelet coop and run for our chickens, and the chickens are outside. But I can't tell you how much of it was a really, really hard thing to do. I brought some of the manuals. This is just the manual for the automatic door. It's
Good
like,
Lord.
it's 100 pages.
So, I just want to tell you, omelet people, your
This is
website says maybe 3-4 hours to put together. And,
yeah.
we're not like the most like, technical, but we're pretty good. We've
Pretty
put a lot
savvy.
of
Here's the
furniture
page.
and things together in our day. This thing took 2 full days.
Yeah, can you see this page right here? It's got like the time chart, like 3 hours to put the whole thing together. Well, that's fine, but here's the problem. And this is what we ran into. There's one, so you put all these things together, and there's one page right here that you're like starting this like to add this coop, and in order to start, you have to. This really gets me. It basically tells you have to take it all apart. This is what this. I don't know. Is this
So after
really,
one
is this,
full
is
day of
this,
putting the whole thing together, the next day it shows you, okay,
Is-
now take the whole thing
is
apart.
is this clear? Like you got the thing put together, but you have to go to not put together. So from put together to not put together. And so
I
basically
almost
you want to like
cried.
murder them. You're just like, what the heck is going on? You're ready to just like lose it. You're by then because you just put together the whole thing. It was pretty rough, but thankfully it's together. It's a very secure facility. for the chickens, and we were able to shed 2 chickens to a family that are friends of ours because we have too many chickens. We're down from 11 down to 9, and we'll have to give a live update for live cam right now. Let's check it out.
Well, hey Frank, if it makes you feel any better, I built my own chicken coop that I found from random like plans online. They're supposed to cost $200 and take about 6 hours to make. I'm happy to report it cost me about $2,000 and it took me about a month to complete. So
it took me a month, and I think it took me my appendix too. We literally tried for 2 weeks to get this thing together, and it took us 4 days, 4 weekends, like 4 weekend days, like 2
technically
weekends.
it took us two full days to do.
2 full days, but the prior weekend we tried to do it too, and I was, I think, ailing with appendix
That was more of a motivation issue.
But I just couldn't get it together. So yeah, it's crazy. Like, these are not easy things to do apparently. So now it's together. I'm never taking it apart, hopefully. And
I think they need someone from IKEA to help them out a little bit.
or just like send a rep to like put it together for you or something. I don't know. It was just a lot of pieces and took a long time. So anyway,
Chickens are happy.
yeah, chickens are happy. As you can see, they're good. They're good to go. All right, let's dive into some things. There's a lot to talk about, and we've been kind of, last week was very focused on AI. So we're going to jump right into ecosystem news. We've been part of the ecosystem for a long time with startups. We've used to travel from ecosystem to ecosystem, bringing together communities and showcasing the talent and innovations happening in those areas when we were doing Tech Cocktail and Tech Co. And obviously still do some of that with Startup of the Year. But every year, for the last 12 years, there's been a report that's been put out about the ecosystems that are growing. So all the different startup ecosystems and what goes into that. And they just released the 12th annual ecosystem report a couple weeks ago. And it's put out by Startup Genome, which is an organization we've worked with in the past in different ways. And it's basically the most controlled, quality controlled data set of startup ecosystems, analyzing data points from over 4.5 million companies across 300 plus entrepreneurial innovation ecosystems. And it provides really compelling insights on the depth of knowledge, startup trends, like kind of the rankings of like where things are kind of fitting in these emerging ecosystems, and how it's kind of all kind of shaken out. And there's some interesting showings. Obviously, Silicon Valley's in there, top spot. New York is number 2, tied with London this year. And then Tel Aviv moved up the rankings to number 4, and it's tied with Los Angeles. So you've got West Coast in the United States and New York, which is no surprise. Those 3 ecosystems have been thriving forever. And then you've got some of these other international places kind of popping up. Tokyo is up there now as well, and Seoul has jumped a few spots. Miami came into the top 20. I don't know if they've been in that spot before. They're at number 16. A lot of people moved to Miami, so really interesting stuff. I don't know if everyone got a chance to check it out, but it's obviously New York being one that's really was a global dominator as far as
and Boston.
Boston too, yeah.
Boston's in there too.
Yeah, so those are the 3. We've known that for a while, obviously, going on in a bunch of these Rise of the Rest tours and doing the work we've done for years, going to these different ecosystems. But it's interesting to see it all kind of mapped out in there. And Austin obviously is in there too. So
yeah, I was about to say, I thought I would have thought Texas would, some city in Texas would make the list.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And of course, Washington, D.C. It's anyone who's interested in ecosystems should download this report. There's a lot of data. I actually like how they also look at investing trends.
Yeah.
So interesting things around seeing how Series A rounds are growing in terms of the amounts people are raised. So the funding sizes are growing. Larger seed rounds. So larger seed rounds so that people have a longer runway. I think people have learned a lot over the past few years. We saw a lot of, startups not make it over the past few years as they just didn't have enough. They were undercapitalized. So I think a lot of founders are saying we need larger seed rounds before we can get to a Series A, because VCs, it's tougher to get a Series A now. What investors are looking for, according to this report, what investors are looking for is really, they've raised the bar. So it's much more difficult.
Yeah, I definitely saw that as well. And I think we've seen it, just internally with our organizations we work with Startup of the Year and some of the companies that we've worked with. It's been challenging to raise funding for the last almost 2 years. I mean, they're doing it, but it's been a long, sludge, I guess you could say, to get it done. props to all those that are able to do it. In some cases, it takes emergency meetings, and then all of a sudden things actually happen, because a lot of folks are just kind of waiting to get the best opportunities and the right timing. So
Well, we've seen a few of those emergency meetings lately, haven't we? And
yep.
I think most interesting here to me, anyways, other than the international players, I wasn't as familiar with some of them, but Miami moved up significantly. I think a lot of that has to do with during COVID, and Florida has definitely been incentivizing businesses to move that way. There's also a lot of South American money down there as well. So Miami seems to be I think it's going to continue to rise here in the next couple of years.
Yep. Yep. And Paris also moved up, I think it was like to number 14, so 4 places from previous years. So, and then Zurich and Munich also in there. So they're in like the top 35, I think. So a lot of great places there. And if you're looking like from a where should I be, if you don't know where you want to live, this is another great report for that too. If you're kind of in the innovation space or looking to be, it could be a good place because of just understanding the landscape of what you're getting into. So definitely worth a look. And there's a full report, and we'll drop obviously the link in the show notes so you can go get it. And they do this every year. So this is number 12, 13 coming soon. All right. Switching gears, we're talking kind of startups and ecosystem kind of stuff. This startup caught my attention. I don't know what you all thought, but there's a Swiss startup. I don't know if Switzerland was in that report. I'll have to go look. That's connecting. This is going to sit in your seat here. Don't fall out of your seat here when I say this. Connecting 16 human brains to create low energy biocomputer. So they're literally creating brains. The company's called FinalSpark, and it's creating a biocomputer, and it's using live brain cells to basically create significantly less energy, pulling less energy than traditional processors, because it's a biocomputer, and using millions of times less power. So it's known as wetware computing. So it reminds me of that movie with Tom Cruise, where they were basically trying to solve all the mysteries ahead of time. What's the name of that movie? Where they're
Minority Report.
Minority Report. Yes, it reminds me of the brains of
good.
Minority Report, kind of wetware computing when I hear that. And so but it's literally they created these 16 lab grown brains. They're not using actual human brains. They're using lab grown brains, organoids they're called, and creating an array and using that as the next supercomputer. So I don't know. This sounds like a made up story to me, but it's crazy. It seems to be true. So,
from now on, when I tell someone use your brain, I'm going to say, use your wetware. Sounds awful.
I don't like that.
I mean, y'all realize we're in
it's me.
Like, this is the future, right? Like the future that we saw back in, the 80s, the Epcot Center and everything that Disney was projecting. Like we're there now. I mean, I saw something online the other day that somewhere I think in Asia, they're starting to grow human skin so that they can put it over robots. So you're gonna have an NVIDIA chip backed by AI, ChatGPT with human skin on it. I mean, it's crazy right now. And I'm glad we're doing this podcast when we are right now, because it seems we've been AI focused a lot lately, but it's one of the most exciting things to talk about right now. Right? I mean, it's happening in real time right now. So we're gonna look back at these podcasts 10 years from now, and
100% our children are we're going to have to teach them that at some point they may not know whether they're interacting with a human or a humanoid. And I fully expect that in her lifetime. And that's weird.
I saw that too. By 2030, I think that there's going to be more, artificial work people in commerce. So you're actually not only, and I thought this kind of blew me away a little bit, and my brain started going into different rabbit holes, but you're not only going to have people talking to machines, but you're going to have machines talking to machines, right? So we're going to have some bot in our company, and we're going to have them talking to another bot in another company, and they're going to be negotiating deals, right? Like, I mean, that's wild when you think about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty crazy. To Jen's point about teaching kids about, who they're talking to and discerning if it's a robot or a human. Personally, these days I sort of take everything I see on the internet as a grain of salt, and I sort of default as to I have no idea if this is true, even if I'm talking to chatting with somebody, just because it's I don't think we can keep up our safety measures or guidelines with the rate that of advancement we've seen. And just one more point, I didn't know this. I thought well, I knew this, but I kind of thought brains were pink. And they're not, they're gray, and it's kind of rocked my world a little bit. I don't know how to think about it, just because in movies they're always like these pink things, and now they're all of a sudden gray.
That's a great
You
point.
know, Simon, I'm sensing this common theme. All the things you learn from movies and TV, they're
It's all, yeah, they've been lying
just
to me.
not true.
It's ridiculous.
Isn't the
So
emoji for like the brain, isn't it pink? I think
it's all pink. It's
yeah.
all pink. In movies, it's going to be pink too. Oh, I already said that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, we'll have to start making that maybe a movement to change it back to the right colors. Curious why they ever went with pink to begin with. But either way, this company is FinalSpark platform is allowing for remote connectivity, these brain organoids, and they're going to be able to start using it for experimental protocols and enabling sensitive data collection. And so there's a bunch of stuff they're going to be working on with it, and it's I mean the thing I think that's interesting is like that, AI and similar to cryptocurrency when everyone was mining, and they're still doing that. It's actually really power intensive, right? And so we need to figure out how do we, obviously besides the sun, which is a big one, right? Solar is a big one, but what else can we do to kind of not have all these resources being taken up to be able to do the processing to make our Sora video or whatever like we're trying to do, like when in the big picture, right? Like we're trying to like create.
So can
like
everyone have a wetware? What is it called? The organoid.
Organoid. Everyone. Well,
Can everyone have one? A bank of them at their house, and that'll become their power source.
I've got 2 in our tub right now, Jen. You didn't know that? Yeah, no, it's kind of weird, right? Like to think about it that way. But are we just wetware? Is that what we're going to be considered? And then we're interacting with these robots that are like hardware?
Well, now we're in the Matrix.
I know. It's crazy. Kind of gets your mind
And
going.
by the way, Switzerland is in the report.
Yeah, what are they ranked?
And Zurich, they're pretty they're pretty high up there. Where was I? Stockholm, number 23.
Yeah.
Zurich, 31.
Oh yeah, I said Zurich already. Sorry, I totally blanked to that's Switzerland. Anyway, geography 101. Anyway, so that's pretty interesting. From a startup perspective, you don't hear about these kinds of startups every day. So we'll move along to another startup that I was really interested in. And I don't know if y'all were as well, but like Fisker, I was really excited about the Fisker and the Ocean. They're an automaker, and they just recently, it was created by Henrik Fisker. They filed for Chapter 11 protection recently, and it's obviously not great for an automaker. And so, I guess there was a review. I don't know. Did you say this, Simon, or did you find this that there was like a reviewer that didn't kind of talk negatively about them and it didn't go very well for them? Is that correct?
Yeah. So there's this tech reviewer named Marques Brownlee who's sort of the go-to guy to review tech. He's a lot of kind of power and what companies, how they're perceived by the public. So he has a ton of followers and has been doing it for years. He reviewed the Fisker after they sent it to him, and I think he said it was the worst, not only car, but one of the worst products he's ever reviewed. And then shortly after that, they filed for bankruptcy.
Yeah, who knows if they're connected, but definitely we'll drop the link in the show notes here. And I really thought it was cool. Like, I don't know, Jen, you remember seeing the Ocean where you could like charge your house off of it? Like it's solar and you could charge your house off of the Fisker.
But if you were following this story, as soon as it came out, which everyone had been waiting, they were plagued with issues, right? So they were having all kinds of actual, physical problems with the vehicles. They didn't have the parts. They were having shortages. At one point, I think they said Henrik Fisker was taking apart his own cars to get the parts to fix other cars. So, I mean, it's basically been an operational disaster from the beginning. So it's, in some ways, if you've been following it, it's not a total surprise. And this is his second bankruptcy, his second attempt at building out an auto company.
Interesting. Auto companies are hard to do. I think there's literally a lot of moving parts. So, and a lot of safety regulations and all that. So difficult. But we did hear some news about Rivian, which is another automaker. Recently, this past week or so, they just got signed a convertible note with Volkswagen in a deal that helps them, basically they needed some funding, as was the word on the street. And so $1 billion convertible note up, and it could be up to 5 billion if they continue the contract, I guess, or whatever it is that they're working on. But it's some kind of software development deal where they're actually going to be doing more with the Rivian software to get it into potentially some of these other vehicles like Volkswagen, has Porsche and Audi and some others. So pretty interesting way to kind of finance what they're doing, but shows you like automaking is expensive as heck, and Rivian's been doing great, but like it's just really capital intensive. So
it seems like a good partnership. You have Rivian that needs cash really to expand and continue to scale and grow, but then you have the Volkswagen interest in the data side and the software from Rivian. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yep.
It seems like it's more than just that. It's also the electrical architecture, because to help VW's transition into electric vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about the brands that they own, so Porsche, Audi, Scout.
Scout's new. That's actually an electric car company, I believe.
So it'll be interesting to see how it's brought in across these brands and what they'll turn out over the next few years.
Yeah, I mean, it also opens the door for potential acquisition too, right? Because they've now invested quite a bit. It could be, something where down the road it makes sense for them to just be part of Volkswagen, and they already have a bunch of brands that are not Volkswagen itself that could kind of fit right into. So, so it's interesting. I like Rivian. We've got a couple friends. They're all over Illinois because they're built down in Southern Illinois. They have a plant down there, and I saw at least 10 SUVs, which you don't see as many up here, but I've seen a few. But they're all over the place. So a lot of people investing. Our friends have one that they love. So definitely seeing a lot more of them. And you're not getting the same looks that you would with the Cybertruck, right? Right, Jen?
Those are people, they get a bad rap. Okay. I'm a defender of the Cybertruck. People love to hate on what they don't understand. And everyone's going to have to eat their...
I like it too. I like the Cybertruck. I just wish it didn't have that stigma around it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So the funniest thing the other day, last week, we were driving down the highway in Maine, and all of a sudden two Cybertrucks, like, a few cars apart, pass us. And it was very apparent, like, oh, it's tourist season. All the folks from, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, from all over come up to Maine in the summer. They were not locals. And it's just funny because they just really stand out. It's not that, I get there's also the feelings about the company, about Tesla, about Elon Musk. But they stand out a lot, and the Rivian just blends in. So, I think there's also that aspect.
Yeah. And I think I just saw they just had another recall for Cybertruck. Yeah. They fixed some pieces on the wipers, I guess. Loose front windshield wipers failed. Is that correct?
Yeah. Things keep falling off, which, I think
which is never good on a vehicle.
For my car knowledge.
Fourth time in 7 months, since they've had a recall. So I don't. Yeah.
Whenever a car looks. Sorry, John.
No, go ahead.
Whenever a car looks significantly different, I'm trying to think of a few examples from the past. Like, wasn't there that Prowler? Can't remember who put out that Prowler, and like obviously the DeLorean and
the Pontiac Aztec too, right?
Oh,
yeah, the
Pontiac
Humvees.
Aztec.
Like, I think whenever someone really tries to deviate from the norm and try to go very futuristic or maybe retro, but not in a good way, you get that kind of like public, like, ugh, that's, why would someone get that kind of thing, and all the negative vibes. But yeah, it's maybe a little unfair. I just hope that they make something that's sleek and beautiful for those who like to go in a different direction.
They're somewhat polarizing, like you just kind of alluded to, Jen. But for my money, let's call it, right, for the cost, how expensive the Cybertruck is, I think you'd save 40 grand and buy an electric Ram that looks pretty cool. And I also see, so I'm not a big, whatever floats your boat, right? I'm not a Cybertruck guy, but I have also seen online, people have been complaining a little bit about how long it takes to charge them, right? Like this guy had it charging in his house for 24 hours and only did like 30% charge of the actual battery, which could get him like 99 miles or something. So I don't know. It seems like maybe they're navigating that a little bit, or maybe it was just somebody that was complaining about his new Cybertruck on, online.
Yeah, first world problems there, huh?
Sure.
With the Cybertruck. I was thinking about it too, not to rip on Cybertruck more, but anything that's new like that, whether it be the Pontiac Aztek or the Cybertruck, I don't know, or a DeLorean, you get in an auto accident with that, or something hits you in the parking lot at the grocery store, man, now you got to deal with like getting that fixed. Like that could be tricky, right? So hopefully you've got the time and patience and I guess deep wallets to fix those issues.
Do you
You're
think
saying
that
your local auto body shop just might not know what to do with it?
Yes. A piece of like stainless steel. Like, what do I do with it? It's not.
Do you think Elon Musk is going to be taking apart his own truck like Henry Fisker was? We talked about earlier.
Let me send you the
doubt it.
pieces. Right. All right.
Right.
Let's move along here, off of cars and automaking, to space. Another thing that's kind of interesting and catching our attention right now is that there's astronauts right now that are in space at the International Space Station that are, I mean, they potentially are stranded right now, right? There's these astronauts, that it's Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams. They were originally scheduled to return on June 13th, and they're stranded at the International Space Station indefinitely due to issues with the Boeing's Starliner. And their earliest return was supposed to be June 26th, but they just pushed that. And they're getting to a point where they're like 45 days. There's this 45-day window where eventually they're going to start running out of supplies. So, yeah.
It sounds like a plot of a few movies that I've seen, right? Like, I mean, they're stuck up there. They're going to at some point run out of resources. I think this is just the beginning of the story, right? They have 45 days. It's going to end up being a big deal here in a couple of weeks. And I also saw an update since some of those original articles that they're kind of saying they're out of luck. Like there's no plan really to get them back at this point. So, what's going to happen, right? Are they just going to leave them up there? And I don't even want to think about that, right? But doesn't sound like a good situation.
Yeah, I think it does not at all, and I definitely hope for their safe return. What I love about astronauts is not only are they like wildly intelligent, but they're very good mechanics and engineers. So if anyone were to be stuck in a place like that, like obviously astronauts would be the best. I think I would just completely panic and like jump out or something. I don't even know what I'd do. I would just not handle it well. I'd start screaming and crying. So
you're in a ball in the corner over there.
Yeah, like I wouldn't be any help. I'd start breathing and taking up all the oxygen stuff and other things.
Well, it sounds like they shouldn't have gone up in the first place because of all of the failures and some of these leaks that they knew about beforehand, and they still kind of risked it and sent them up there. So I don't know.
Well, so is this a situation where SpaceX can come to the rescue?
Well, Elon Musk, remember years ago, he tried to save all of those kids that were stuck. Remember they were like stuck in a cave somewhere?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with the submarine.
Going there. So it could be a good news story for them if they did come to the rescue.
Are there other countries? We've hitched rides before with other countries, right? Like are there other countries that could give us a ride down? That's the other thing, right?
Well, some of the most proficient people that are in this, into space really aren't our biggest fans right now, right? That being Russia and China and some of these other groups. So
yeah,
it'd be kind of a jerk move though, not to take us back to Earth, right?
Yeah, we would think so.
One would think.
I mean, that would not be very cool.
Well, yeah, not cool. Hopefully it all turns out. We'll keep keeping an eye on it and eye in the sky, I guess you could say, as we watch and figure this out. Hopefully it doesn't become a big thing. All right, so moving along, we're going to go to a new section that I am labeling pebbling section. Have you heard of pebbling? No. Okay. Well, according to psychologist Adam Grant, who's an author as well, you may have read some of his books. He just kind of figured out that penguins and some others use pebbles as a way to kind of share, like their kind of build stronger relationships, I guess you could say, with other birds. Humans are doing it now too in social media by sharing links and memes and things of that nature with each other. It's a nice way of kind of like sharing things without like being too overbearing, but also maybe it'll bring joy to someone's day. So we're going to create the pebbling section where we're going to quickly go through some of the things that we've been noticing and seeing. One of which is esports is coming to the Olympic Games. Did everyone see that? It's kind of new, interesting. Brought a whole new area potentially for us, for folks that are into esports. So that's interesting. There's also 4 signs your body is telling you that it's time to take a break. We'll drop that in the show notes. I pulled this article recently because I was running every day for I was trying to go for 30 days, and I was thinking, should I be taking a break? Apparently my body thought so. I got appendicitis. All right, moving up. Did you guys see this George Strait? You guys familiar with George Strait?
Of course.
Country singer. He broke the attendance record. You don't hear about this. He broke the attendance record held since 1977 for the largest attendance at a rock show. It was like over 100,000 people in Texas, and it barely hit the news.
Wow.
I know,
That's
right?
yeah.
That's amazing. Given
I
Taylor
hadn't heard
Swift's audiences and everything. Wow.
I know, right? That's why I caught it. It caught my attention. I was like, what? That's doesn't even seem like I had to like read it twice. So we'll drop that in the show notes. And then did
The
you guys
OG.
see, what's that?
He's OG.
He is, yeah, totally. But he's got a lot of fans, a lot of country music fans in Texas. And yeah, we'll drop that in. And then Olympic, did you guys see the Olympic pool? There's a lot of videos at the time, like a quick version of them putting together the pool in Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, right in your neck of the woods, John. Well, some Purdue engineers worked at this company that pulled this together and engineered and had to basically turn a football stadium into an Olympic swimming stage for the Olympic trials, and it's pretty phenomenal. We'll drop a link in the show notes, but I was just kind of observing all the swimmers, mostly on Instagram because it's hard to watch the entire Olympic trials. Did anybody catch any of those winners or that whole video of them putting together that thing?
I did, and I thought it looked pretty cool. I was actually surprised. I don't follow swimming probably like some others, including you, Frank, but I mean, it looked pretty cool. I was surprised that they had never done that before, quite frankly.
Yeah, and honestly, some of the biggest challenges were not putting the pool together, which I thought it would be the hardest part because like you're literally building a pool that needs a whole lot of water. It's 2 million gallons of water.
Yeah,
that's one of the biggest. They had to bring in the 2 million gallons of water. They had to treat it, heat it, and then dispose of it in a way that wasn't just like letting it just run wherever. They had to like dispose it back into the Indianapolis sewer system without it being an issue, because they wanted it to be like a environmentally sound operation. So those were like the 3 biggest hurdles they said. Compared building the actual pool was easy. The rest of it was hard. Which
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, my buddy has a pool that has 50,000 gallons. And he said if you put your hose in there from your house in 24 hours, it won't even go up an inch. Yeah. So they actually have to bring in trucks that pump, your pool full of water. So I imagine a couple million gallons is definitely that's a significant issue. So that makes sense.
Yeah, and heating it. Go ahead, Simon.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy is that there's eight pounds per gallon, so that's 16 million pounds. That's insane. What are tons, by the way?
We looked that up. Ask ChatGPT.
I'm missing crucial. What is it?
Yeah, it's a lot. But so just think about that. 2 million gallons had to weigh tons and tons. It was quite a feat. Let's just put it at that.
And 8,000 tons.
8,000 tons. Yeah. So quite a bit of water. All right. So we're moving along. So that's our pebbling section for the day. Moving along. What are y'all watching, eating, testing? Anybody want to jump in? Johnny?
I'll start. Yeah, so I've been watching, it's called Station 11. It's a new series that's out. It's a post-apocalyptic saga. And the acting is great. It's the special effects are good. It's a really interesting concept based in Chicago, so that's pretty cool because having lived there, you can kind of see different things in the show. And I'm only a couple episodes in and it gets a little bit weird, so I'll keep you all updated, but so far, it's kind of like, remember when we've all freaked out at the beginning of COVID and we thought, people were just gonna be dead in the streets and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It basically takes that premise and shows what that would have looked like, and there's only a few survivors on Earth, etc. So definitely worth watching, though. What makes you think?
Definitely. That's interesting. It seems like that would be like a stressful thing to watch.
Yeah, you definitely have to be in a certain mood to watch it because it's pretty intense.
Yeah, definitely. I've been on a couple flights lately, and so I've been watching a few movies in flight because I flew to Chicago and back. And two that caught my attention were well, first, Bob Marley. I'm a big fan of Bob Marley. He's, one of the largest artists that ever lived, right? And his One Love movie, I finally got a chance to watch that movie, and it was really good. It just made me really mad because he was such a phenomenal artist and everything, and he literally got cancer on his foot, this rare form of cancer on his foot, and he had the option to lose a toe to save his life potentially, and he voted not to lose the toe. And I was pissed at that decision. And it's still very frustrating to me. And obviously he passed away like 2.5 years later, something like that. So, but such a pivotal person as far as like some of the freedom things that were going on in Jamaica in general. And then obviously, obviously music too. So really bummed me
Wasn't
out.
there a story that he was shot at some point and then
There were people, yeah,
then
you gotta watch
actually
the movie.
played the
It's really
concert
good.
that day or something?
Yes. Check that movie out if you get a chance. It's pretty interesting because I didn't know the whole backstory of it, and it's in the film. And then the other one is a little more uplifting, but also still a little like, oh man, I don't want to spoil it, but it's definitely a tearjerker for all. But a good family movie is the movie If, which is produced by John Krasinski from The Office. You guys are familiar with him from The Office, right? But he's also now a movie star and producer, and it's a really good film. It's got some really great casts, Steve Carell and a bunch of others. So definitely check that out if you get a chance. And
It has a laundry list of celebrity voices in it that you just hear like little clips and you're like, wait a minute, I know that voice. I know that voice.
Yeah.
I know that voice. It's a fun movie to watch.
Definitely. And then one more that caught my attention. I just caught my attention because it was in DC, and we used to live in DC, and the Cubs are just right now like floundering already. And so I had to get my attention on some other baseball. Is this cosmic baseball where they're literally this minor league team is hitting out of the park with this thing where they literally are doing. You remember black lights in college? We all had black lights where you could like see everything in the glow in the dark, right? Well, they're doing that with this baseball minor league team, and so they're turning all the lights into black lights and then playing at night in glow in the dark, which is kind of crazy and reminds me of Tron. So thought that was kind of neat. So check that out if you're in the DC area. You might be able to go check it out real time. Jen, did you have something? Or Simon?
So I haven't watched it yet, but I have on my list now to watch Eurovision. I'm a little late to the game, but I'm very excited.
Is that like
For those of you who don't know, it's a very long running. I think it's from the 60s or 70s. It's Europe's biggest singing competition. It's like instead of the Olympics, it's a singing competition across all these countries, and it's wacky and crazy, and all kinds of famous artists have been part of it in the past. And when you look at it, we just watched clips so far, you'll see what makes it so crazy. I mean, the artists are out there and they have a lot of fun with this, and so I'm kind of excited. I may not watch soccer, but I will do my part in this global arena by watching Eurovision.
That's what I thought it was. I thought it was like another version of soccer that you now got a station devoted to the Euros.
Musica.
I thought you were talking about the Will Ferrell movie because he did a couple years ago. He did a spoof on it, so which I've seen. I didn't know it was a real thing.
It's a real thing. You should watch it.
Can I start with the Will Ferrell movie first and then watch it?
Whatever floats your boat.
Okay. Simon, what are you up to?
So I've been watching Presumed Innocent, new Apple TV series with Jake Gyllenhaal. Phenomenal, like lawyery. Have you ever seen the movie Seven? Like that kind of scary movie? And it's sort of like Seven, but lawyer style. So really good. Jake Gyllenhaal, quite a handsome man, that guy. So
is he your man crush?
He is my man crush. I love Jake. J Bones. But yeah, great show. Give it a watch.
Check it out. It's on Apple TV. And I did watch also, I've been, like I said, I've been pounding through things mainly because of like travel and my appendix. I've been laid up a little bit more, and I watched, I power watched, or I guess binge watched Reindeer, what's it called? Baby Reindeer. Yes. Baby Reindeer. And it was very disturbing, but you couldn't stop watching it. So definitely check it out. As Simon mentioned a while back, it's definitely worth a view, and it's a true story, which is even more crazy. All right, so final thoughts here as we wrap this up, y'all. We've got summer. It's summer finally. It's feeling good. It finally feels like summer, and it's upon us. And when I think of summer, I also think, for some reason, I think of national parks. I don't know, is that something that resonates with you all? I'm like, summer, national parks, they kind of go together. And so I caught a couple of, I don't know if you're familiar with the national parks, but they were pioneered by naturalist John Muir and President Theodore Roosevelt. And they established the Yellowstone National Park in 1872. It's the first national park in the world. And obviously, we have a whole National Park Service that was created in 1916 with President Woodrow Wilson. And they're now protecting and managing the national parks. And we've got 63 of them. And we're going to drop a comprehensive guide to all 63 national parks in our show notes. But it basically details and features kind of the best places to go. And we've got several around us, including Acadia National Park here to the north. And we got a chance to go visit that last year. But definitely something that's interesting. Do you all have a favorite national park that you've been to, or have you been to any of these great national parks?
Yellowstone was amazing.
Yeah.
Acadia and Maine, I like a lot in Maine.
Yeah, that's a pretty one too. I think those are my favorite too right now. Jen, do you have any?
I actually have to think about whether most of the parks I've been to are national or state. I feel like I've been to a lot more state parks, but Acadia is gorgeous, and that's coming to mind.
It's definitely in the list in the top national parks in that comprehensive guide, so check that out. And one thing to think about, though, I think I saw this story recently, but there was this couple that was walking I think it might have been even a state park, and they literally were walking. All of a sudden, these couple on the beach, and all of a sudden, one of them just fell into a quicksand hole. So beware quicksand. And it made me think, oh shoot. And so we'll drop the link to this woman on this beach in Maine that just fell into a sinkhole, basically. But it's happening more and more, and it's kind of a frightening experience. And I was thinking about, what would I do if I literally was walking in a national park and fell in a sinkhole or quicksand? And I started to think about the never-ending story and that whole thing. It probably scarred me with quicksand for life, and all the other times I've seen quicksand in the movies, and started to think, what do you do? And so there's a few things you do, and we'll drop the video in the show notes here, but it's a don't panic moment. So you got to stay calm and stop moving. So what did you all think you should do?
Lay flat and slowly pull yourself, move yourself out.
Kind of crawl on your back, lay on your back and create space. Don't like flail, because that would make you sink faster. If you see a stick or a pole, try to grab it and pull yourself out. And slowly extract yourself. And obviously in the process, if there's people around, maybe try to like yell at them. Pretty common sense there, but try not to panic. And that's, I think, the biggest thing. And we can it'll help you obviously get out of the quicksand and hopefully avoid any other disasters. But don't wait. You can go to national parks right away. You don't want to wait till you're 90 years old to do it. Although there is one woman that did this last year. She's 93, Joy Ryan. She visited all 63 national parks to set the world record for the oldest person to do it. And you don't want to set the record. So go check something out this summer, don't you think? What do y'all think?
Definitely.
We'll see you there.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate y'all listening. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining. And be safe out there at those national parks. Thanks for listening to the Somewhat Frank podcast. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe and leave us a review. We love the feedback and are grateful to have you as a listener. Have a great day.